I will introduce what is land and land law. Let us look what is land. Land is everything that is in, above and below the ground that satisfies the owner. As for land law, it was the rights, interests and obligation relating to the use, ownership and transfer of land, or in easy word, who has the rights of the land and what the owner can and can't do at the land. Now, let us look at the importance of land law. Land law is important for ensuring the security of the tenure and ownership, smooth transaction and functioning land market, and more orderly land use and development. Also, provide social justice and equity.
Have you ever wondered how someone can legally use a part of their neighbor's land? This is where the concept of an easement comes in. An easement is a legal right that allows the owner of one piece of land, called the dominant tenement, to use a part of another person's land, known as the servient tenement, for a specific purpose. For example, imagine you own a house that doesn't have a direct access to the main road. The only way to reach the road is by crossing your neighbor's property. With an easement, you have the legal right to use a designated path through your neighbor's land. This is often called a right-of-way. In this situation, your land is the dominant tenement because it benefits from the easement, while your neighbor's land is the servient tenement because it bears the burden of allowing access. Easements are essential for making sure property's owner can fully enjoy and use their land, even when access or utilities must across someone else's property. There are two types of easement. First, we have the positive easement. This gives someone the right to use another person's land in a specific way. For example, a neighbor might have the right to use your driveway to access their property. On the other hand, there's a negative easement. This allows someone to prevent their neighbor from using their land in a particular manner. For instance, you might have the right to stop your neighbor from blocking your access to the sunlight or a scenic view. In summary, positive easement let you use someone else's land, while negative easement let you restrict how someone uses their own land. Here are the procedures of an easement. First, identify the need. Confirm that one landowner, called the dominant land, requires specific rights over another, which is the servient land. Next, check the legal requirements under Section 282 of the National Land Code. There must be both a dominant and servient tenement. Next, draft a written agreement detailing the rights granted, description of both lands, condition, and get both parties signed consent. To complete the easement process, start by filling out the statutory form pre-described under Section 286 of the National Land Code. Use Form 17A for the grant of an easement or Form 17B for a cross easement of support. Next, ensure you have obtained consent from all registered proprietors of both lands involved, as well as any other party with an interest in the land, such as bank or tenant if required. Once you have the completed form and necessary consent, submit your application for registration at the land office. Be sure to include the complete Form 17A or 17B, all supporting documents and the pre-described fee. And finally, the land office will register the easement and endorse it on the title documents for both the dominant and servient lands, and is officially completing the process.
Easements have both positive and negative impacts on land projects, which must be carefully considered during property transaction and development planning. Positive impacts. Infrastructure development. Easement facilitate the installation and maintenance of infrastructure such as road, pipelines, and utility lines. Legal protection. Properly documented easement protect the right of both landowner and easement holder, reducing the risk of future dispute. Enhance property value. Property with secure access and utility connection are often more valuable and attractive to buyer. Improve and access. Easement ensure that landlocked or otherwise inaccessible parcel and can be reached, supporting the development and use. Negative impacts. Restrict property use. Easement can limit how a property owner uses their land, as certain area must remain accessible to the easement holder. Second, maintenance burden. The servient estate may be responsible for maintenance, leading to additional costs. Third, reduce marketability. Some buyer may be deterred by the existence of easement, making the property harder to sell or requiring price adjustment. Lastly, disputes. Poorly defined or undocumented easement can lead to legal conflict between property owners and easement holders.
This is my land and you can't keep using my land.
I've been using it for over 20 years. Let's give me the right.
Okay, look here. This is my land. And he built a proper road on my land and he says it is his now. So how?
Actually, under the National Land Code, he is a legal grant, not just based on time.
The law is clear. Use must be lawful, not merely long-standing.
There is no express grant. He was allowed to access, but not entitled to it.
The use was permissive, not as of right. The defendant is a trespasser. Judgment for the plaintiff.
This case reminds us that easement could only be granted by an express grant as provided under Section 284 National Land Code 1965.
Hi, I am Alia Erdina and I will continue on the second dealings. But first, let me give you a situation. Imagine owning a piece of land that is completely landlocked with no road access. How can we reach our property? That's when LAROW comes in. It's a legal tool that lets the government create a pathway or access route over someone else's land so we can get to ours. LAROW, or the Land Administrator Right-of-Way in Malaysia, is rooted in Section 387 until 396 National Land Code, which empowers the land administrator to grant rights of way over alienated land for access to public terminals or landlocked properties. Now let's get into the land provisions under LAROW. The first one is the land administrator has the power to grant this right, but they cannot just do it randomly. They have to follow strict steps such they will evaluate alternatives to check if there is no other reasonable way to access the land. So, if you already have a longer route, even if it's not convenient, they might just reject your request. The law uses the word expedient, which means absolutely necessary and not just merely convenient. The second subsection under Section 388 stated that the right-of-way sticks to the land forever, even if the land is sold or inherited to the new successor. The third land provision is LAROW may be attached with conditions, for example, type of vehicle allowed to pass every pass. So when the LA grants a LAROW, they can set specific rules or conditions for how it is used. For example, they might say only cars and motorcycles are allowed and heavy trucks are banned. The fourth land provision is, if a private LAROW is created for your benefit, like a path to your house over someone else's land, you are responsible for all the costs, including initial survey, building the path, and any future maintenance or repairs. The fifth land provision is, when a land administrator right-of-way LAROW is established, the landowner whose property is affected is entitled to receive compensation. This compensation is intended not only for the use of their land by others, but also for any damage that may occur to trees, crops, or building as a result of the creation right-of-way on their land.
Hi, I'm Aida Zafira and I will continue with the procedure of creating a land administrator's right of way or LAROW under Section 390 of National Land Code. The process begins with the application for right of way. The landowner of a landlocked property submits the application to the land administrator. The application must include a description of the landlocked property, the proposed route for access, and the reason for requesting the right of way. Once the application is submitted, the land administrator issues a notice to the affected landowners. This notice informs them of the application and provides them an opportunity to object or respond to the request. Step 3. Inquiry. If any objections are raised or if further investigation is needed, an inquiry may be held. During this inquiry, the land administrator will assess the necessity of the right of way and resolve any disputes or concern from the affected landowner. The next step is order. After the inquiry, the land administrator will issue an official order. This order will either grant or refuse the right of way. If granted, it will specify the access route, any conditions attached, and the compensation, if applicable, to be paid to the affected landowner. Next step is conduct a survey. A survey is conducted to define the exact location and boundaries of the right of ways. The survey helps create a survey plan that reflects the legal access route, ensuring clarity for both parties involved. Continue with the next step, which is memorials. Memorials are registered with the land registry. This formal registration ensures that the right of way is legally recorded and binding on future owners of the land, providing clear documentation of the access right. Finally, there are two ways the LAROW can come to an end. First is cancellation. If the right of way is no longer needed, it can be officially cancelled. And the other one is extinction, which happens automatically if the land no longer needs the access. For example, if the new public access is available. Now, let's look at the impact of LAROW on land projects. Starting with the positive impacts, LAROW helps provide legal access to landlocked properties, which is important for allowing development or construction. It also makes it easier to get planning approvals from authorities and can increase the value of the land. And most importantly, it protects the landowner's rights to use and access their property. However, there are also some negative impacts. The land that is used for the right of way
called the surveillance land may face reduced value or loss of privacy. This can lead to dispute between neighbors. Also, the whole LAROW process can delay the project timeline, and sometimes there is confusion over who should maintain the access route. So while LAROW is useful, it must be handled carefully to balance the right of both parties. That's all from me, and thank you.
Let's highlight the key point about easement and LAROW. First, easement and LAROW are crucial because they provide legal access to land, especially for properties that would otherwise be landlocked. Second, an easement allows one landowner to use another land for a specific purpose, like creating a pathway or access road. Finally, LAROW gives the land administrator the authority to create access roads when necessary, ensuring no property is left without access. This legal concept helps manage land access fairly and efficiently, benefiting both landowner and the community.